You can see them dropping another bag here now.
Dreams.
So beautiful. Oh!
The moments that moved us on World News with Diane Sawyer on ABC.
As you well know, today we have an African-American president, but it wasn't too long ago that some Americans were illegally denied the right to vote. The country was shocked by these images from the 1965 March to Selma, Alabama, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a demonstration to demand voting rights that was met with deadly violence. There were many battles waged in this war, in the streets, in the courtrooms, and one key case took place in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where you found a determined group of African Americans. They were teachers, factory workers, ministers, who risked their lives to stand up for their rights. Now, one of the lawyers who fought alongside them has chronicled their courage in a wonderful new book. It is called Count Them One by One, Black Mississippians Fighting for the Right to Vote. And Judge Gordon Martin is here with us this morning. I should, full disclosure, your daughter Andrea was my producer, my first producer
Indeed.
here at GMA, and we've kept in touch over the years, and we've even met in Mississippi.
We have.
So tell us about this time, Judge. You were 27 years old. You're sent by the Justice Department to Mississippi, and tell us about this case.
It was the first time that I had been in Mississippi, Robin. And Bob Owen, my section chief, and I went down to prepare the case for trial. We had 16 very brave African-American witnesses who were going to testify, and we wanted matching white witnesses. When I say that, I mean whites who had just gone in, signed the book, or gotten the easiest section of the Mississippi Constitution to interpret. And that's what we did, preparing the case for trial.
And you had to prepare them against the county clerk, Theron Lynd.
Yep.
And what was he doing exactly?
He, at this time, we had only 12 African Americans out of 7,500 who were eligible to vote, that were permitted to vote. And he simply would turn them away. There might be a little bit of a sham, ultimately letting them on the third or fourth try get a voting form, but they would never pass. And we'll take a look, I think, at one of the voting forms.
Yeah, and it really shows you how he manipulated the system, though he was, in essence, following it, but he had his own tricks. But knowing that you're, Judge, also want to talk about primarily the witnesses, those brave witnesses, and tell us a little bit more about them and their story.
Well, let's mention one, and you referred to factory workers. We had a great variety of witnesses. Willie Thigpen, a World War II veteran who had been in the Signal Corps, Lido Road, going from India to the supply route to China. Really a hero in the same way that your father was a hero with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Thank you.
He came back. He came back and was not permitted to vote despite his service in World War II. And he wanted to.
And some of the other witnesses that you talked to and chronicle so beautifully in the book.
Addie Berger, the wife of the principal. She wasn't supposed to rock the boat, but she was willing to rock Theron Lynd's boat and did by going to testify. She actually, Robin, had appeared before a federal grand jury that had tried to indict Theron Lynd's predecessor. She had been trying to vote for 8 years.
My.
And they let her husband vote, the principal, but they wouldn't let her. And Theron Lynd, when he testified, and John Doerr, trying the case, said, did you know she was a Negro? And he said, she wrote on the form, Mrs. Addie N. Berger. We didn't call them Mrs.
No, not then. Why did you want to write this book? And why did you want to do it now, John?
I wanted to go beyond Dr. King. I wanted people to know my witnesses, these brave African Americans, the local people. You know, Robin, I would get back to Washington. I wouldn't stay permanently in Hattiesburg. They were going to live there.
Yeah, the hub city. I've spent a lot of time there. The University of Southern Mississippi is there. And let me say this too, because it's well known. I love Mississippi. Lived there, my family has since the 60s, and yes, a checkered past, as many have. But I think also the message in this story is that the people, such as yourself and others of all colors, who came together to right a wrong. And isn't that also part of the message that we all need each other, and we all have to help one another to be equal?
If we're going to have a healthy country, we can't have a second-class level of citizenship. It has to be equally open access for whites, for blacks, Asian Americans, all of us.
And how about the grandchildren of the witnesses? They must really love reading these stories and hearing about their...
There's a young man in Memphis, Robin, named Reggie Howes. He told me, I was just 3 when my grandfather, the Reverend Sam Hall, died. I didn't know he was a hero. And I think now that Reggie Howes knows that Sam Hall was a hero.
And you've helped him know that.
I tried.
Oh, Judge Martin, so good to see you again. And thank you for sharing your work. And I'm sure it's going to touch a lot of people.
Well, thank you for having me, Robin.
Anytime. And to learn more about the fight for civil rights in Forrest County, Mississippi, go to abcnews.com/GMA and read a chapter from Count Them One by One by Judge Gordon Martin. Next, got a minute? How about 3? It's the big events of 2010 at warp speed, so come on back.
When you really need to know how low wind chills could go, count on ABC7's Perfect Storm Team. Doug Hill and Bob Ryan, together on ABC7 News, and always on your side.